welcome to the USTS, the Ultimate Sports and Training Show. I'll be a host for today's show, Bob Lemire. I got a special guest today. I've known him for many years now. Drake resident his whole life. A man of many talents. So we're going to talk about all his talents today. Well-known Drakeite. Or is it Drakeitonian? I don't know.
Draconian.
Draconian. I should know after all my life.
Drakeiteer.
Drakeiteer, yeah. Welcome to the show, Phil Tebow. Philip Tebow.
Thank you for the invitation.
Phil, before we begin, just tell us a little about what's going on in your life and a little about yourself.
A little bit about myself would be, as you alluded to, I've been a Drake resident all my life, so it's 60 years so far. Hopefully a lot more. Been married for 32 years to my wonderful wife and very understanding, and she lets me be me, which is sometimes hard, I suppose. 2 sons. Been a registered architect for nearly 30 years now. The last 12 or so have been within Drake, operating my own firm. It's a small 3-man firm. As a matter of fact, one of my sons works with me.
Very nice.
There's another Drake resident who works with me.
There you go, yeah.
And we have fun. We go to the office to have fun.
Right, and make a couple of bucks. Yeah.
Make a few bucks. It's always helpful when you have a few bucks to make.
Right. Yeah. I got so much I could talk to you about. Well, let's stay with this the subject with the architect. So your son's doing it with you. Now you teach him, or does he have to go to school for it also, or how does this work?
So
I don't know
when he was wondering what to do, right, as far as it's starting his life, if you want, professionally, I said to him, well, if you knew how to draft, I could give you a job. I can teach you architecture, I can teach you drafting, but I don't have the time to do both. So he went to Middlesex Community College, got an associate's in engineering CAD drafting. And then I put him to work right away, and he's been fantastic. He catches on very quickly.
Wow.
He's realized that architectural drafting is slightly different than other forms of drafting, electrical or mechanical, because there's a lot of nuances there that essentially go with contractors for the terminology. So it's always a learning curve for him when he asks me a question. I say, okay, here's the answer to the question, and here's the reasoning why.
Right.
So I give him an explanation, and then when I see his eyes glaze over because it's too much information now, it's like, okay, we'll stop here.
Now he's an apprentice with you.
Yes.
And to get his license. That's
licensure is a whole separate issue
world, right,
because now you need, for the most part, a master's degree, from a college. So he has his associates, but it's a master's of architecture that you need to get. And after that, there's an internship period that you need to satisfy.
He's already doing that, though, right?
So it
kind of.
It wouldn't necessarily count because he doesn't have the architectural degree yet.
Okay,
but it's only a year.
Yeah.
With a master's degree.
Right.
I actually graduated from Wentworth with a professional bachelor's degree, which is a 5-year program.
Right.
That at the time allowed me to sit for the exams. Now they tend to go more towards the master's degree, so it only requires a 1-year internship. The bachelor's required a 3-year internship.
Okay, yeah.
The exams much different now than when I took them.
And even then, I bet you could have been a lawyer after taking that exam. The
exams are essentially a nationwide boilerplate, if you want. There's a series of 12 exams given over when I took them over a 4-day period.
Wow!
So you're taking 3 exams a day. Most of them are averaging 3 and 3.5 hours.
Oh, yeah. Wow!
The very last exam was essentially it's titled Building Design.
Right.
So they give you 6 vignettes, 6 problems that you have to solve, a 12-hour period. So Before that exam, the day before, they tell you make sure you bring your lunch
Yeah.
because you're not allowed out of the room.
Right? No, I understand.
They essentially give you a hall pass if you need to use the
You gotta,
restroom.
eventually.
There's a monitor in the restroom to making sure that
you're
doing your business and you're getting out.
Well, I took my real estate license and it was the same thing. I got up halfway because I looked at and the guy goes, no. He goes, all right, what do you get? Take everything out of your pockets. This is real estate exam. I says, I just got to go to the bathroom. He's going, sorry, buddy. You got any notes or anything? I go, no. And that to me was like a 3 or 4 hour test, and I thought that was grueling. So you went through torture.
Well,
that's torture.
I suppose it would be if you don't. They kind of gear you up. So the funny thing about it is that I never studied for the exam. I was working like a dog with a firm in Andover, doing 10-hour days.
Yeah. I understand.
So I never really had time to study, and then I go for my first exam, and there's like 400 people there.
Yeah.
and I'm overhearing these conversations of like, oh, gee, I spent the last year studying for this, and it's just all sorts of stories about how much they studied. I showed up with 2 number 2 pencils and an eraser.
Oh my God!
Thinking to myself, well, gee, I'm way over my head on this one. I should just leave. Yeah. So the very first exam, the proctor says, okay, you'll have 3 hours for this exam.
Right.
If you finish the exam with more than a half hour to go, you can turn in the exam and leave the room. So going through the exam, I finish and I look up at the clock and it's 45 minutes left. It's like, oh, I must have done something wrong.
Right, yeah.
So I go through the exam again. It's like, no, I'm not going to change any answers. So I pass it in and then leave the room. I did that for, I think, 3 or 4 of the exams. It's like, I'm failing this thing. Yeah. But
as you were taking it, were you saying, "Oh man, I don't like"? Is it a test question by question, or is it?
So it's multiple guesses. Some people say, but you can tell that you need some knowledge to be able to answer these things.
Right, because they're all close.
All the answers are very close.
Close, yeah, you know.
So I felt confident when I was taking the exams, but here I am. I haven't studied. And I'm leaving. I'm the first or second person to leave the room. It's like this can't be. Right. This can't be good.
Right. Yeah.
But it all worked out. I passed the exam.
Jesus, that's wow. And is a lot of law? I mean, there must be lots of law with the codes.
There are portions that have codes. It's a very overall generalized.
Right.
Look at the profession.
And that's a nationwide test, or is it state by state?
It's administered, or the exams are developed by the National Architectural Registration Boards.
Right, yeah.
So it's consistent among the states, all 50 states.
Right.
And then there are state-specific exams. So in Massachusetts at that time, they had the Architectural Access Board exam. That's accessibility and ADA stuff.
Yeah, and you got to renew it once every so many years.
Every 2 years.
You have to renew it, or just take classes and never take a test.
Well, that's
you don't have to take tests.
Some states are every 2 years. Massachusetts is every year.
Yeah.
You have to do continuing education, of course.
Just the education. There's no test in anything.
No.
It's a continuing education.
You have to do the.
And you can do it at home on your computer, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, in the next week, I'm going to be going to the American Institute of Architects convention in Washington D.C.
Oh, very good.
So there's the ability to do continuing education there.
Yeah. Wow, that's and so years ago it was all done with pen and pen or pencil on a board, and now everything's on that computer.
Everything's on a computer.
Is that much better for you, or does it make?
I hate drafting now
because it's computer.
Because it's computerized. I had a discussion with my brother-in-law, who is a mechanical engineer. He worked for 3M, and he was talking about how he loves the preciseness of AutoCAD and how he can do drawings that are within 1/1000th of an inch.
Right.
And he said, you must appreciate the accuracy. And I said, to be honest, in construction, I can have a tolerance up to 4 inches, and I don't care.
That one.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a matter of telling the contractor, okay, I want this beam to go from that wall to that wall.
Right. Wow. And so I know nothing about how someone would come to you and say, well, like, build a house. Is that how they work? Build me a house, and you say, well, what would you want?
That's a matter of it is. I mean, I'm getting a lot of people want to do in-law suites and additions to their home.
You got to go by code anyway. But
so there's the code, but the first meeting is I typically want to meet them at their home,
right?
And then ask them, what are you trying to achieve with this? What do you want to see? What do you like?
Right.
Kind of get a feel for how they want to live within their home.
Right.
And then it's a matter of, I guess, my knowledge and experience putting it together.
So you put it together, and then the contractors and the construction crew follow your plan. Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. Now, what have you? Anything around the Drake that you've done that we know of? Or?
So the most recent in Drake, it would probably be the Collinsville office. I think it's called Collinsville Crossing.
Okay.
On the corner of Mammoth Road and Lakeview Ave, the gray office building.
Oh, the new one.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That was something.
I live right down the street from there. Yeah.
That was something our firm did.
Wow, very nice. Yeah. That came out really nice.
It was very nice. We're very proud of it.
It went up fast.
Everybody seems to like how it looks. It fits in the neighborhood.
That's wild.
Provides some nice office space.
It sure does. Yeah. Well, we got about 12 offices in there. Or?
So the bottom floor is 2 medical offices. One's a dental dental office, and then there's a medical office adjacent to that, and then there's a CPA, 2 CPAs, I think, up there.
Yeah. Oh, okay, because it's a big building.
It is. Total is 14,000 square feet.
Wow. And so whoever wants that building, they come to you and say, this is the type of, now that they give you an example, like something like this, I want this type, another building that they like, or is there names for buildings?
No, oftentimes that, I like this particular style. Here's a building that I like the look of.
Right. And so you show them the finished product that you've done, and it's all finished, all.
So it's
what it's going to look like.
It's a certainly much more involved process with the client as you're developing it.
Right.
So to make sure that you're achieving what he's trying to get.
Right.
As far as square footages and use and the look of it. And
what about the electrical and the plumbing? The plumbing.
So those are all
those codes.
Sub consultants. So
they come in with you.
I work with those particular consultants.
So
to get everything to kind of meld.
That's beautiful. And now, is it just buildings that you do architect, or is that what else? How broad is that?
Some land planning. I've had experience with land planning. So if somebody has a 24-acre parcel that they want to either develop commercially or residentially, then we can lay out where the buildings are going, how the roads are, where the amenities go.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. Now is AI gonna do anything for you, or is that gonna help you? Or are they just gonna take over?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because it's scaring me. It seems like AI is gonna take over everything.
I don't necessarily think it can take over because it only. I think it really only develops from what it knows,
and from what you might put into it.
Correct.
So it might help you. Where you could do a whole CAD on blah 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 and see what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, but for the most part, we're always looking at, it is a matter of combining things. But sometimes you come up with an idea that has never been seen before.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not that AI can come up with something it's never seen before.
Right. Of course, they do it.
It's always relying on taking pieces from this and that and kind of putting it together. So I think the human mind is still safe on that one.
On this, maybe. God, I'll tell you, you got to be getting scared too. I mean, it's scary because not for you and me, we're an elderly part of the world, but for our kids and our grandkids, what is going to take over? And how because you think about it, so many years ago, you had a drafting board and you had a pen and a ruler and all your equipment and doing it just. So could you do it like today? Could you take that board or a CAD CAM and do it almost as fast and as accurate as the.
Well, I claim I can draw quicker by hand than
Really?
they can by computer.
Wow.
Because as you get older and have the experience, you know what information needs to be there on the drawing.
Right. So you can. leave stuff.
Oftentimes, you can see, the drafting have all this superfluous sort of information on it. It's like,
Right.
you don't need that. You don't need that. And,
Yeah.
I see meticulous window details where every single part of the window is shown. It's
Right.
like, contractor doesn't care about that.
No. They just
Draw a square, put a line in between. Okay, that line in between is your glass plane, and that's all you need for the detail. It's knowing what's needed to put on the drawings,
right.
and sometimes a drawing can look very bare,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of
Yeah,
information.
all the numbers and stuff. And so, how long would it take? Like, someone comes in with an idea for a building. They want a building from scratch. How long does it usually take you to do? Week, a year, or 2 years? Who knows?
So like a residential in-law suite would probably be in the realm of about 8 weeks, maybe 6.
For you to do the homework on where?
From start to finish, from them
Right.
coming to see me saying that they want
Right.
to do the work,
Right.
to me presenting them with construction drawings to give to a contractor.
And to where the building's going to be set according to code on the street, and
Yep.
yeah. Well, so that's what I'm saying. All the law.
Yeah, right. So again, I was
law,
explaining
yeah.
to my son this morning that because he was asking about a width of a stair, I said, "Well, that's not necessarily an easy question."
Right. Yeah.
I said, "What we're showing is adequate because we're beyond the minimum requirements for the smallest occupancy.
Yeah.
But for a stair, when you're trying to figure out how wide a stair needs to be, you need 0.3 inches for every occupant of the building."
Imagine that.
So he says, "Well, that doesn't, that sounds small. I mean, if you have 30 people in the building,
Right.
0.3 times,
Right.
30, so you're what, 9 inches wide. Well, of
Right.
course, that's too narrow. So there's a minimum standard. But I said, okay, what if you had, an auditorium with 900 people in it,
Right.
and you have to split up the 900, so it's 450 people going to one stair.
Right.
How wide does it have to be now? So it's the
Jesus.
0.3 times 450
Right.
says it needs to be 11 feet wide.
Right.
So I said, okay, now you can never be more than 30 inches from a handrail. So, of course, now the middle
The two
is
yeah,
too far
it's too
away.
far
So
away.
now you need a handrail in the middle.
Both sides.
He said, so does the thickness of the handrail get excluded from that area? I said, absolutely.
Can you imagine?
So at that point, his eyes started glazing over.
yeah,
It's
mine
like,
are
this is-
glazing over.
So,
Holy Jesus!
It's just, there's a lot of things that you need to be aware of and be cognizant of. And
Right.
just my wife, when we were watching TV years and years ago, and we're watching a musical orchestra was playing,
Right.
and she said, the person who wrote that music needs to be a genius, because look at all the pieces that are in that orchestra and making them all work together. She said, I don't know how anybody can work with that many pieces and get it to work right. I said, yeah, it's not like they're building a building or something. And
They take it for granted.
it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, she said, you're not a genius.
What you do is easy. Come on, she can do what you go.
Yeah.
Boy, that's funny. Wow. So you do your own house?
No,
You
no.
didn't-
That I think that's the dream of every architect to do their own house. And,
yeah.
there are. I would love to do it. The opportunity has not necessarily come to fruition, but I'm still young enough.
Yeah. Well, if you ask your wife what she wants, the money would probably.
So I did a kitchen remodel,
Right.
and she didn't want to be involved in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And one funny remark that she said, because she knew that it's going to be a lot of hassle, as everybody knows. But she actually seriously said to me, "You just don't know what can go wrong during a kitchen remodel." Oh, wow. And I shook my head and I said, "You don't know what I do for a living, do you?"
No.
I said, "I could tell you horror stories."
Oh, I can only imagine. And so when like a building's all done, and the people say do they come to you and go, well, they must nitpick?
Well,
But they
even
can't go to you.
even myself, it's like, oh, gee, we should have done that differently,
Okay.
or next time we'll do this.
But would it be your fault, or would it be the construction, the contractors?
No, if it's a serious issue, then you have to start wondering, okay, what went wrong?
What went wrong?
But usually by the time you're occupying, any code-related items or any serious things have been fixed.
Right.
And then you start wondering, okay, what could have been done better to,
Well,
solve
that's
that
learning
problem?
experience.
That's
That's the training.
communication.
That's the training. No, we kind of. I think we met in was it Littleton?
Littleton, Massachusetts.
What
yeah,
was that
a
whole
project?
Were you part of that?
So I was working for the firm that was doing that.
So that had to be 20-something, 25, 26.
2005,
Yeah.
I think.
Because I was working on the project with my son Jimmy for Brian Gary, and the American Builder Show
I
was going
remember
at
that,
that.
yeah.
And I remember you drove by and we were talking. I said, hey, I know your wife, not your wife, your wife's sister,
Yes.
Lucy. I grew up with her, and she went to school with my wife also.
Yep.
And so we started talking, and that's so you got involved with that project. But that project went belly up, right?
Oh, that.
That was a nightmare.
You asked if there was anything where I didn't want to talk about. Little did I know that you would remember that.
Well, no,
one.
we're not even going to get into it.
But
it had nothing to do with you
No, there were a lot. There were issues that were happening
because it was already built.
Yeah, and to be honest, it goes, I think, beyond the construction people or
It was the town too, and because those buildings were already there at one point. There was a lot of buildings there, and you guys were continuing it.
that's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Because we just walked right out, and Gary says, "Well, this job's done," and I think we were there for almost a year, us, and we were just doing, all the maintenance, trying to get the houses up.
Yeah. I mean, it started as a very good project, and then something went sideways on it. And,
I don't even know, and I never asked.
Hopefully, I think it all rectified itself.
Yeah, because I think they did finally get going or something.
Yeah. So it's fully occupied. I think everybody there is happy.
So you have 5 states that you're a
Yes.
licensed.
So
New England, all New England.
not all New England, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, Florida, and Kentucky.
Wow. Why? And I can see why Florida, but Kentucky.
Kentucky, I had a client that Goldfish Swim School that I did in a project in Westford, Mass on Liberty Way.
Right.
They were wondering if I would do work in Kentucky for them because they were looking at doing a new prototype building.
Now you can work from up here for that.
Correct.
You don't have to go down there, live down there anyway, but you have to take the test for.
So there's what they refer to as reciprocity. So depending on where I'm licensed, because of that nationwide exam that I took,
right.
That all kind of transfers.
Kind of
down
covered. Oh,
to
that
the
was
state.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So then you could have your license in many, many, many states.
Correct. Yeah. I mean,
that you don't have to take a test again.
So, I mean, states like California, there's a section that deals with earthquake design.
Right.
I believe New York has a specific exam that they want to do.
Do you have knowledge of the earthquake design? Because we're on a fault, we're on a
know
major fault.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Boston, I think, is in the same earthquake zone that Los Angeles would be.
Right. But we had one a little while back, a couple of months ago, whatever, and it scared a lot of people. It scared a lot.
I felt it, and it's like, oh,
you felt it?
What was that? Yeah, I did.
No, I never did.
Yeah,
it was at night. Was it at night?
No, it was. I believe it was in the morning, and I'm sitting at my office, and I feel like a little rumble, and I look out the window because I face Lakeview Ave. I figured a heavy truck was going by, and no, the street's empty, and I yell out to the guys in the office. I said, "You guys feel that?"
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty wild. Because I think I might have been working, so I'd have been up north, up in Manchester.
Okay.
And then you're moving around all the time.
Right.
One bang is as good as another bang.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bangs in Drake it that I'm hearing on all the social pages. You hearing that?
Oh yeah, well I suppose I chime in on sometimes on that.
But don't people remember all the kids are getting their fireworks for 4th of July now? When do you think they're going to explode them? At 2 in the morning?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what that necessarily is?
Yeah, it could be anybody. It could be anybody. And what was I going to? I had so. You're very active. Well, number one, you're a host.
What's happening?
What's happening? Drake
with John Zimini,
with John Zimini and stuff. I had
Gordy
John.
Scott.
I had both of them on the show.
Oh, wonderful!
Oh yeah,
Good guys.
Mr. Scott was on about a month ago.
Okay.
And Mr. Zimini, I would think about a year ago, and they were talking about their sports with their kids.
Yeah.
And him and his hockey, and Gordy with his basketball. And but that's a good show, and I love it. I love almost all the DATV crew and the DATV play. This is the greatest. Isn't this the best?
There is. I put this access station against any other.
I would put it against anyone in the country.
Anyone.
The crew is so professional, and there's so many good shows that give you information on Drake because I love Drake. Drake is a beautiful town, and the politics from years and years ago have been Donnybrook.
Oh, it's rough and tumble.
It's
absolutely.
And it's nothing new. It's nothing new.
No.
I used to watch the programs, I'm talking 30-something years ago, Channel 8. I'd turn it on a Tuesday night, and it went back with Gorman and all those guys.
Yeah, Inside Drake at Politics, and then
it was
Drake at Roundtable, I think, was another one that Shaw hosted.
The meetings themselves.
Oh.
The selectmen meetings were just rough and tumble, and all they did was that. And I went, it never changes.
No.
But that's politics.
It is. It's part of the nature of Drake, and I suppose, it's
but I don't know
to some degree really old-fashioned. I mean, politics has never really been all that conciliatory.
Well, yeah, that's why I was telling John Zimini, I says, I love it so much. And we started, and I said, I couldn't get into it. I don't have that thick skin. If someone says something to me, it really bothers me. And you can't let it, you got to let it roll off.
No,
so have some sleepless nights.
Yeah, so I mean, I like to say that, so politics in my eyes is that you have a discussion or an argument or a fight like that. I mean, you really go at it hard and heavy. But with politics, after the argument's settled, then
should be done.
You have a cup of coffee, you go out for a beer.
It's an intellectual.
Yeah, so I always say in Drake it doesn't seem like it's ever politics, it's always personal.
Yeah.
That, if you disagree with me, well, you're dead to me now.
It goes
which is bad.
It's going all the way up into as high as we can get in presidency and the Senate. So
and that's a very unfortunate that we got to that point.
It's out of control.
I mean, back when Ronald Reagan was president, one of his better friends was Tip O'Neill.
Yeah, and
they would enjoy each other's company, but they had diverse
fight and
politics.
Yep, but that's good. Not that you want to be enemies, but you have to have two different point of views. If there's one point of view, there's one rule.
Right.
So you have to have two.
When I was on the planning board, I was chair of the planning board, and I would say, okay, I'm thinking this way for this project.
Right.
If there's somebody who thinks differently, convince me that I'm wrong.
That's all.
Please,
right.
Just what is the argument that I'm wrong?
Right.
And I'm not going to put down the argument. It's just give me something to reconsider.
Right. I mean, and that's, as I watch, and this is a compliment to you, everybody that I see on the reason I couldn't get into politics, I love them. I love politics. I ain't gonna do that homework. You better know what you're talking about, or they're gonna rip you apart. And I don't. I go. I couldn't put that work in, just because you better do your homework. You better do, especially if you're going to debate or if you're going on a show and stuff.
Yeah.
You start saying stuff that you make up, or you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble.
If you observe me well enough,
as I have,
you will learn that I'm oftentimes very quiet, and at that point, I don't think I know the information.
There you go.
All that well.
That's
so I'm listening. Let's hear what it is. If I'm talking on a subject,
got it.
I think I'm near an expert on it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. When you are watching, when you start talking, whether you have a paper or not, I'm like, listen to the detail. He's got it down. If you're going to argue with him, you better have that detail down. And some people will argue with you, and you're going, they don't know what they're talking. They don't have a clue what they're talking
and so there are points, of course, that you realize it's no use in arguing with a person like that. So it says, okay, I'm not going to say a word.
They're going to make
but
it
I
up.
know you're completely wrong.
Oh, that's just funny. Yeah, and now the shows are on Saturday morning.
Yeah, so we moved to a Saturday because some of the schedules with everybody is so
that's
difficult.
The thing, yeah.
And it seemed like, well, gee, Saturdays at 11 o'clock seem to be working for people right now.
Get up.
Why don't we
relax,
do that?
Yeah.
And DATV's open on a Saturday until I think 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
Right.
And so it's like, well, let's give the technician there something to do too, so he's not just hanging around.
and the way they do a background and everything with the greens, it's just unbelievable. I go, look at that. You'd swear, whatever scenery it is, you'd swear you're in New York, or you swear at it's just.
So when you were asking me what projects have I done in Drake, well, I neglected to say the studio.
This studio, unbelievable.
I was the architect for these studios.
Wow, that's just phenomenal.
That was quite a learning curve too, I suppose, because it's not every day that you get to design a television studio. So there was somewhat of a learning curve.
So you have to do
all the theatrical lighting and everything.
You have to do a lot of homework on that before you even begin.
Yeah. So
because they're telling you what they want, and
and so you're saying, well, why does what size studio do you need,
right?
And why does it need to be that size,
right?
And the space behind the curtain. It's not just the curtain against the wall. It's like there's space behind there, and what does that have to have? And so there's a lot of conversation before the design actually starts.
Right. And anybody who's listening, you can come down and you can visit the place anytime you want.
Oh, we welcome people.
Arms wide open. There's actually an art studio. There are different artists in the front hallway as you come down. Great artists.
Yeah, there was essentially this big blank wall, which is the opposite side of the studio.
And it's
like, well, what can we do with this? And
look at it, yeah.
And the suggestion came up, why don't we have local artists come in and they can, display their art.
It's catching on, too, because...
That is, and we're even asking the artists to, host a night where they introduce the art and, have a little get-together.
Stand right there and do a show, right? An art show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Boy, that's a good idea. You should run it. Phil Tebow's in the art. Boy, that's pretty cool. And so we were talking before the show, and Phil had an experience of a major weight loss.
Yeah.
Way back. You talk a little about how you did it and what happened, because it's interesting.
It is. This would have been maybe 10 to 12 years ago.
Right.
Very heavy set. I'm still heavy now. But I was pushing 320 pounds.
Jesus.
And feeling uncomfortable with everything. My collar is a size 21 neck, and I'm going from a size 48 pant waist to knowing that I should be going to a 50. And so I was also having trouble with sleep apnea because of the weight, no doubt.
Right.
And so I had the sleep study done, and you need to have this CPAP mask, and I just found the thing claustrophobic. It was difficult to work with.
The sleep study's uncomfortable too.
It is.
I tried that and didn't sleep all night.
So I think they do it a little differently now, that you can actually do it at home.
I did mine at home.
Oh, you did? Mine, I had to go to the hospital.
Oh, Jesus, forget.
So you have all these wires.
Yeah. Go to sleep now.
Yeah. Sleep comfortably. Just sleep like you would normally sleep. It's like, well, first of all, I wouldn't normally sleep in a hospital bed.
All wired up.
Bring your own pillow because it'd be more comfortable. It's like, So anyway, I belong to this networking group, Business and Network International, BNI. And there was a hypnotist there, and So I approached him and I said, I'm can hypnotism help me with claustrophobia? Because I have to wear the CPAP mask, and I'm claustrophobic with it. I just can't. And so the hypnotist, his name is Don Glass. Don says, well, we should address the real problem and not just the sleep apnea.
Right, yeah. He
said the real problem is weight loss.
Right.
So he gave me a questionnaire, and we did a little. I answered questions, and we had a little interview. And he said, "I don't see a commitment with you staying with this program." So the program he was talking about was virtual gastric band. So under hypnosis, I would go through gastric band surgery. I would have a band placed on my stomach.
Right, it's there.
Made smaller.
It's there. Yeah.
And over the after the surgery, which essentially takes 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
I would essentially feel like I had been through surgery.
Right. Yeah.
So after the first interview, he said, "I don't see a commitment." And then 6 months later, I approached him again about it, and did the re-interviewed, and he said, I can see your commitment to it now, Phil. So it was a 4-session procedure. First session, the surgery. So swear to God, I'm going under hypnosis. First of all, I never thought I was under hypnosis. It was like I was super sensitive to everything going on. I could hear people talking in the hall. I could hear cars in the street. Oh, no. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't be hypnotized.
Yeah,
I'm, if you want to call it, wide awake. I can hear everything.
Yeah.
He starts to talk about doing the surgery. I don't know if he had a jar of rubbing alcohol, but I could smell the rubbing alcohol. I could smell the sterile atmosphere of an operating room.
Jesus.
So sometimes for myself, I would drift out of consciousness.
Right, yeah.
So I wouldn't remember what was going on.
Right,
and other times I would remember everything that he was, clearly everything he was saying, like I was fully awake.
Right. And your eyes were open, or were they closed?
No, they're closed.
Okay.
They're closed. And then, he brings me back, and every time that I would go through the hypnosis process with him, I would wake up and say, my hands are so cold. He said, it's because it's working. Because you're in hypnosis, and all your energy is being drawn back into you. So it was a 4 sessions. So it was the first session, and then there was one a week later, and then 2 weeks later from that, and then another, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks after that. So it was a slower process as you put out, but it was all kind of reinforcing. And so after the first session, he said, "Okay, now what you need to do is pick target clothes." So I said, "Well, I'm in a size 48 right now." I said, "When I first got married, I was in a size 42 pant." So he said, "Perfect. Go get clothes that fit you when you were that size."
You had to buy them.
Had to buy them.
Wow, geez.
So you can, when you went to the closet, they were there. They, it was confronting you.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, there was kind of an estimate, okay, to lose that much weight,
right? Yeah.
It'll probably be a 6 months. Well, within a month, I was in those pants.
You gotta be kidding me.
It just peeled off.
But all right, so
nothing.
So when you ate, what you just says, I feel full. Is that what was happening?
For the most part, yeah. I'm satiated. I've had enough.
Right.
There's no more hunger per se. Right. And that was probably the biggest thing, is that I was no longer boredom eating.
Right.
At night, in front of the TV,
right,
watching TV, you're going, okay, what's in the cupboard? What's in the
ice cream? Yeah.
And the habit was still there. I would walk to the cabinet, open it up, and my first thought was, "But you're not hungry."
Oh.
So the habits were continuing, but my mind was then saying, "But you're not hungry."
Yeah.
So I'd close it and close the cabinet and go back to watching TV.
Right. It was just a habit.
just
But what
the
about the
habit.
gastric thing that he put in there? That he inside. Yeah.
So I suppose that's all part and parcel of
It has to be, yeah.
of it. I mean, my meals did get smaller because
you go full.
Because I was full.
Right,
You got rid of the eating for hunger.
Right. And a different diet. Did you change your diet a lot?
Changed the diet tremendously.
Tremendously. Yeah.
I was shortly after, I think maybe 2 months after, I was went to the Hibernian luncheon that I always go to in Lawrence.
Right. Yeah.
There with a bunch of friends, and the corned beef and cabbage and everything else that goes with it, and I had a small plate of that, and then of course there's a dessert that goes around.
Of course, yeah.
Little piece of, I think it was ice cream or something like that with the creme de menthe.
Okay.
The green liquor on top of it.
Yeah.
And so I took a spoon and I took one bite, and that was it. And my friend Rick is looking at me and goes, "That's all you're going to eat?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I just wanted to taste it."
Yeah.
"That's all you're going to eat?" I said, "Yeah, I tasted it. I don't want it anymore."
You need friends like that. Eat 5 of
but
them.
I think he
No,
at that
he was,
point
yeah.
really didn't realize
What was going on.
how powerful the hypnosis was.
And now that hypnosis, could that just go on for years and years, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I unfortunately have let bad habits creep back in, and
Not too bad though. I mean, you
no. So I did. So with the hypnosis, I got down to 245 pounds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm back at that. And then I lost further by the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
So exercise.
What were you doing for joining the gym and?
Joined first a trainer, personal
Right.
trainer.
Right.
And that was going well. I was working with Terry Bolger. I don't know if you know Terry.
Oh.
She had 180 Fitness here in Drake, and she's doing private training sessions
Right,
and stuff like that. But with her, I got down to, I think, 220.
Wow. Jeez.
And
And
one of the
muscle.
funny, So one of the funny things is that she said, you would look really ripped at 185.
Oh, yeah,
It's
bingo.
like, holy shit!
Well, yeah,
That's a lot of work.
You're a big bone guy, so I mean,
Yeah.
you would be, but well, it's still there's nothing.
Yeah.
You just
So another thing with the I mean, my work with Dawn working with me, and I mean, it was just fabulous. So when I hit when I got this, so I might have been mistaken. I think it was maybe size 44 pants or something like that.
Yeah, never no difference with
So,
us.
So as soon as I hit that, he said, "Well, now you need a new target.
Yeah,
You need to
Always.
buy a new set of clothes. That's your target."
Jesus,
So he said, "Well, so what are you going to pick?" I said, "Well, I suppose maybe a 40 inch,
Yeah.
waist pants."
Right.
And he said, "Why not 38?"
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a minute. And I said, "Because that's in the 30s."
What do you?
And again, it's kind of, the hypnosis is
Yeah.
overcoming that predetermined fear that you have,
Yeah,
that
it
it's
relaxes
it's
you down,
something, and that's probably the biggest part, that it's the unknown that
right.
I've the last time I was in a 36-inch pants, I was probably 8th grade,
Yeah.
because I've always been very heavy.
Yeah, that's well.
but I know I can get there. It's
Right.
And when people say losing weight is hard, it's not really true.
No, it isn't.
It's the
It isn't.
determination to do it. It's the will to do it,
Right.
and whether the will is hard or
the
not,
mindset. It's the mindset.
it's the mindset. It's being cognizant of what you're doing and making the determination.
You have to
this
have
is
the-
what I want.
It's a passion that
Yeah.
you have to want to do. When I used to compete and stuff, I used to have to always drop, because I'm not as tall as some of these guys my weight they'd be giants. So drop a couple of weights to get into a better thing. And a week or two, and I wouldn't skip meals, but just a week or two of constant working out,
Yeah.
burning those calories, and drinking a lot of water, and staying away from junk.
Yeah.
Bread, you know what you got to eat. Do your homework, like anybody. But that hypnosis, that's just wild, because I don't know too many people who were that happy with hypnosis losing that much weight, and that's a
Yeah, that was fabulous, and I still
it
rely
really
on some,
worked, yeah.
the breathing exercises. That
well. There's
he
self hypnosis.
does.
You ever
It
try
is-
self hypnosis?
So to be honest, I think I have that ability to do that now because I've
Well,
worked
it's
with
even
Dawn
Google.
for so
You
long.
Google on YouTube. You Google YouTube. There's thousands of them.
Yep.
And you do self hypnosis, and they talk you through it as you're trying to sleep or you're laying down. I love it. I've been hanging and doing self hypnosis before the phone. I would tape myself reading a book.
Okay.
I would read a book on hypnosis. I'd tape my own thing, and you are falling asleep and go. And
You have a good voice for that.
and I put myself out. Then all of a sudden, the phones come out, and you put it by your ear or you put it on a thing. So that's good for people to hear because and it's not that expensive. Not
Really is not.
for your health.
No, and for a life-changing event like that,
Right.
That's so beneficial. It's
Sleep apnea, no more.
no. To be honest, I think it's still there. But I guess I'm managing it a little bit.
I call
better
it snoring.
now.
Snoring
That's
and
what
wake.
it is.
Snoring and
That's
wake.
what
My
it is.
father snored his whole life. Give me a break. And I'd hear him wake himself
Yeah.
up. I do that.
I do realize that sleeping has been much easier with
Right.
with less weight.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of
Right.
saying, okay, I've let myself go back into bad habits. Let's stop it now and just go.
You know what's so nice? The gyms that are around here. I'm not going to stop plugging one for another because I don't want to. Everyone's fighting for a business, but all of them, and they're not expensive anymore. They're really not expensive.
No,
a gym.
no.
You can get any gym for $20-$30 a month, and boy, that's a. You can't. You go to McDonald's with your wife and your two kids. You're spending $54
Oh, yeah,
on
absolutely.
something that's just going to kill you.
Yep.
So now you got a whole month that you can work out. They got everything.
Yeah, I've been through with I think 3 different trainers, and
Right.
each one has been very beneficial. They all are very knowledgeable. 2 of which have been women, which I think initially was very helpful for me. So when I first started, Terry had remarked that the forms that I was doing for squatting and everything else like
Right.
that were very good.
Right.
I said, well, I'm lucky that I've never developed a bad habit,
Right,
having never done this before.
right, yeah.
So I thought that was beneficial, but I think, having a woman as a trainer, I wasn't essentially worried that, I need to have this machismo thing going with
Yeah,
another
that's-
man
that's
that,
something, yeah.
I have to live up to that particular standard.
Right. Yeah.
So
I
I
know.
found that, I think that was helpful for me also.
But at this point, you could do your own. I mean, you have enough knowledge, and
Again,
this-
it's the motivation type of thing
Okay,
that becomes difficult.
we'll go to the gym,
And
and
that's-
you're not going to sit there, and just do nothing. Just do it. Yeah.
Right.
I
I used to play guitar, and I stopped because I didn't have anybody to play with. I was towards the end. I was actually taking classes for classical guitar. Really enjoy that. This is probably my favorite.
Classical
form.
gas. You ever see?
No, this
You
is
ever-
but
Yeah.
this is like
real
stuff in
classical.
the 1800s.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And I find that so relaxing to listen to when I'm doing work and I
Yeah.
want to relax. So I had been studying with another professor for this classical form, and he left and a new teacher came in, and so I always had a habit of kind of like playing a small piece while they're talking, just to
Right.
keep my fingers busy
Right,
if you
right,
want.
yeah.
And as he's talking to me, he stops and he just watches my hands.
Right.
And then he says, wow. At that point, I realized he could not teach me anything else.
Really?
It's like, well, if I'm impressing you with that,
Right.
I mean,
Right,
what
right.
else are you going to teach me?
Right. Yeah.
So-
classical's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
You got to love it. Like I say, you have to have a passion for anything.
Yeah, so I started playing guitar when I was 7.
I was 10.
Yeah,
I was
my,
10 when I
and,
started,
and
yeah.
my mother brought me down to, I think it was Russo Music.
Oh, I remember. I went to Russo's.
Okay, and
Yeah,
and
I
the
went to Russo's,
teacher said, 7, that's young to start learning to
And
play.
it is. Yeah.
And so my mother said, are you going to do what
You got to
teacher
practice.
says.
You got to practice.
He said, "Yeah, I want to learn." So
my first teacher was Julius Westner, and he was Lowell used to have a symphony orchestra, and he was the conductor of the whole.
Okay.
But he would teach on weekends.
Yeah.
And I walk in, the Beatles. They just started. I got to be a Beatle, and so I went to Julius Westner. I want some rock and roll right now.
Yeah.
Hey. Ding, ding. I go, wait a minute, wait. And I did that for a year and hated every minute of it. Barely practice. I wanted to play some chords. I wanted to play. That's what my kids, I'll throw them some stuff. I get everybody guitars, and I'll say, I can show you about 4 or 5 songs with 3 chords, D, G, and C. And you play 1,000 songs with each.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they go, wow. Then you've been playing? No, it's just no problem practice.
Right.
You can have a passion.
That absolutely.
You don't play anymore.
No, not really. Occasionally, I'll take it out and say, "Do I remember this piece?" And
and you'd be surprised that you do.
You do. I remember most of it. There's a lot of faster paced music, classical pieces that the fingers going all over the place.
Oh my God! Well, when I said
they get all tripped up.
When I said classical gas, you know classical.
I know the piece.
I watched that with my father on the Ed Sullivan Show or the Smothers Brothers Show.
Oh, I think it was Smothers Brothers.
It was Smothers Brothers Show, and I'm watching my father, and it was unbelievable. It blew me away, and I was vowed to learn that song. That took me 5 years to really get it, and even now I play it, I lose it because it goes fast.
It's very fast, and
but it's so beautiful.
It is.
You remember that, and what they were doing was showing different pitches.
Oh yeah,
Smothers Brothers.
Absolutely.
Wow, I'm surprised because I've got you by 9 years. So you had to be like a real young kid because I must have been.
I do remember the Smothers Brothers.
Oh yeah. So we're almost we're winding down. That was quick, but let's talk a little golf now.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Golfer.
So I started back in I think it was 1988. I was co-oping with an architectural firm.
Yeah.
Always liked the idea of golf. My cousin golfed, and she always said, "Well, I'll take you out sometime." I was like, well, it's always hard to meet schedules sometimes. So this firm went golfing at least once a week, twice a week. After work, there was a Hillview in Reading was nearby, and so one day I said to them, "Hey, I've never played golf before, but would you guys mind if I went along?" They said, "Oh, come along. They're having fun. They're unwinding."
Yeah.
And so I bought a starter set of clubs and just joined them. Of course, I'm awful.
Well, you never played.
That's right.
You got to hit the ball.
So, as they called them, the worm burners.
Oh, no, I know.
They were going all over the place. But I remember it's like the second or third time out, it was getting dark, and we had a group of, I think it was like eight people in the firm, and we were all out.
Yeah.
Come to the last hole at Hillview. It's a par 3. They decide that to save as much light as possible, because there isn't much left anyway, that we would tee off 2 at a time. So it just happens that I'm teeing off with the owner or the president of the firm, my boss.
There you go.
Nervous as hell.
Yeah.
He takes his swing, and then I take mine, and Dick turns to me and says, "Well, can I swear on this?"
Yeah, no. Well, you can.
You a-hole.
Right.
It's like, oh my God.
Tell me you didn't get a hole in one.
I said, what I do? He said, "You're 3 feet from the cup."
You almost a hole. Imagine. Wow. Hey, that brings you back. That's right there.
Geez.
That's
right
there.
That's the shot that always brings you back.
Yeah,
so, of course,
back,
I get a birdie.
Oh, my God.
So all the guys in the office start calling me the natural.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what it is. And you do that theoretically. Think about it. Theoretically, if you did it once, every hole you can do it.
So, speaking of that, my sister Aunt Lucy,
right?
She moved to Texas, down in Austin, and we planned a trip to go see her.
Right.
Harvey Penick Golf Academy. is in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So I said to Lorraine, "Hey, you mind if I take a 3-day course at
Nice.
the golf academy?" She goes,
Nice.
"Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, while you're down there." So I bring my clubs, and they went over everything golf. I mean, Harvey Pennick's Little Red Book of Golf,
Yep.
and there was a lot of what the thinking of golf rather than not necessarily the actual swing.
Right.
There's a lot of thinking involved.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of confidence that you can build with yourself, and as they call it, the course management. As you're walking down the first hole, look to the left or right and see what other holes are next to you.
Yeah.
See where the pin
That's why
is.
they say better to walk.
It is.
Always better to walk.
If you see the second green as you're walking down the first hole, remember where the pin is on the second green,
Right.
and watch what's going on. And what they teach you is that the best on any course, if you take the best holes that you've ever shot, you can do that. You just have to string them together now, because it's possible for every single hole.
It's possible.
So
Theoretically.
in theory,
theory,
if I've been able to birdie every single hole on a golf course,
Right.
I should be able to get an 18 under par. Just string them together.
Some of these golfers do.
And that's the whole point. So
Yeah, I
it gives
know.
you that confidence to know,
Yeah.
hey, I can do this. I've done it before.
Don't
Don't get ahead of yourself.
It's a lot of practice, and it's keeping your head down. Don't keep your head down. Keep the little because you can swing. Go. Oh, let's see my hit.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
a friend of mine's father said, he watched us. He goes, "All right, go grab a nail and grab a hammer, and because you know how to hit the nail with the hammer. Right before you're going to hit it, turn your head away
turn your head.
and see what happens."
Absolutely.
And that's the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe a hypnosis can help mindset your.
I hear about
You
a lot
could,
of a lot of professional golfers. They have
do.
hypnotists and
Just to calm them down.
Yep.
Because the yips you're going to get when you're going to win $8 million and you got to putt 2 or 3 feet,
yep.
I'd be shaking, and it's
And you learn that that last shot was bad.
right,
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Every
Okay, let's
hole,
go with
every hole.
the next shot.
right.
Always have a routine when you're going to hit a ball, even at the
Everything.
driving range.
Right,
Follow your routine.
a routine.
My routine for myself is getting behind the ball, lining it up with the pin,
Yeah,
and then finding a spot that is 3 feet in front of the ball and focusing on that and making sure that
and you
lines
have
up.
to do that.
Do that every shot.
I know
Every
I know.
shot.
Oh, believe me, I know. It's it's because you're at tournaments or whatever you're doing. You go, all right. I just go concentrate. I remember a story. God bless his soul, Rick Kowalczyk. I don't know if you knew Rick Kowalczyk, Bucko. He was out of Lowell.
Yep.
But we're playing in a tournament, and he's playing. He was a hot ticket. God rest his soul. So I'm swinging. I think I'm a big shot. I'm playing well. And he called me Lemire. Hey, Lemire. I go, what, Rick? This is before I'm going to hit. Do you breathe in or out before you hit the ball? And I went, what? Now I'm thinking, now he's got me thinking for 3 because he knew what he was doing. I go,
Yeah.
I go, you son of a gun. He's laughing. He's going, well, I says, I never thought of it before. Now I got to think of it, That's so funny. And that's just golf. That's
It is.
golf, yeah.
So I mean, golfing with friends, and we were you're teeing off in front of this huge water hazard.
Yeah.
And I'd have a friend that would say, don't hit it in the water, Phil. And I'd look back at him and I'd say, what water?
Well, what water?
What
There you
water?
go.
It's not there because it's not going there.
There's so many things that golfers do
absolutely.
to each other.
Oh, absolutely,
And,
absolutely. But it's such a great game because
it's so much fun.
it's like a smaller microcosm of what life is in general. You have your good days, you have your bad days.
Don't
and
get cocky.
How
Do not get cocky.
just how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And just
yeah.
keep your head keep your head where it belongs.
Yeah, because it'll humble you. I mean, you look at and I God forbid, all golfers, eventually you get older too. But you look at Tiger Woods, and you couldn't touch him back in the day. You couldn't touch him, and then age and things, distractions, and get to you. They do get to you, and so you just enjoy the game. I go out there and I love the game so much. My wife's a really good golfer. And she's on a golf league. She plays up in Four Oaks.
Okay.
And on Tuesday night, what day? Oh, Wednesday nights, yeah. With all locals that we know and people and the friendship.
It's such a great way to meet people.
And if in the business too, do you use it much in your business? I mean, it's
to be honest, I've started to,
Yeah.
with some clients that
Yeah.
I know like to go golfing.
Right.
That I've taken them out golfing for a
Right.
different,
Right.
a local tournament or
Nothing
something
like
that.
it.
No,
Nothing.
there's.
I mean, it couldn't be
I mean,
expensive.
even so, I graduated from Central Catholic, and they typically have their alumni
Right.
golf outing. I forget what they
Yeah.
refer to it, but they have that every July.
And you know
I go as a single.
Wow.
Pair me up with somebody.
There
I
you
don't
go.
care.
Yeah.
And
It's
I've
just
met
fun.
so many
Yeah.
interesting and nice people.
Yeah, and there's so many nice golf courses. I mean, they're just so nice. I golf up on Sunday night, 3:00 with my wife, 9 and dine, Indian Mound. I don't know. You ever hear Indian Mound?
No, I
It's on
haven't.
16.
Okay.
It's up right before you get to Conway,
Okay.
North Conway that way, and we go up the mountains and we play with a group. Me and my wife. I'm going to be 70. We're the youngsters. Because everybody else has got to go to work the next day. We're not working. And, oh, my God, 70 people, all in old ages. And, we have the most fun that you could ever have on a golf course. And then they feed you at the end for $35. How can you beat
Great
that?
time. It's
Yeah.
always a great time.
Phil,
Never rains on the golf course.
oh, my God. That's a whole hour, buddy.
Oh wow,
I
that,
gotta,
that was quick.
We'll have to do it again. Just talk
Yeah,
golf. We'll just
yeah.
talk golf next
Yeah,
time.
that would be fine.
So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed the show, just we're on Spotify. We're on drakettv.org, MVPR, Merrimack Valley Public Radio, and YouTube. So you can find this show in a lot of different venues. Phil, that was an excellent time. I enjoyed it. Phil Tebow, and you can catch Phil's show, What's Happening Drake It. Every Saturday or every other Saturday?
So we typically
Whenever you
do
get together.
live every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yeah. Give
But
you
there's
a
a
break, yeah.
replay that goes
Yeah.
continuously.
Oh, they play them 5 times a week,
Right,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
What's Happening Facebook page.
Right, yeah.
So there's a number of ways we can catch it.
There you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. Till next time, have fun and train hard. That's it, then.